Hey, it's Mike. I'm back. New hairstyle, new hair color, and we're going to be talking about Hare Krishna and the LA Hare Krishna Temple, Los Angeles, the Los Angeles ISKCON Temple. That's the temple where I joined and spent 20 years hanging out there, working and being a Hare Krishna. So we're going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at some of the stuff that's going on today at the LA Hare Krishna Temple, and let's get into it with the opening here. Let's see. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so we'll have to fix that. I'll have to work on that. We'll work on that later. Disappointed. Let me see. What happened to my... I don't know. Wow, okay. Okay, no opening today. No opening today. But, hey, LA Hare Krishna Temple. And let me give a shout out to all the protesters that are still protesting Scientology. Everybody out there that's doing a great job protesting Scientology, keeping that at the forefront. Trying to bring an end to Scientology. I support all of you out there doing that. Everybody, bringing down Scientology. Good work. Keep up the good work. So now Hare Krishna in L.A., in the Los Angeles Hare Krishna Temple, the same city where Scientology, a lot of protesting Scientology is going on. Hare Krishna. Let's check it out. Let's check out what's going on at the LA Hare Krishna Temple. So, we go to our favorite Krishna page. The favorite page that tells us all the crap that's going on in the Hare Krishnas. So this just came out about the LA Temple. And so I'm just going to cut right to the good part about it. I'm going to get right to it. So it says here, it says Hare Krishna. It says go to ISKCON LA at your own risk! ! Don't go to ISKCON Los Angeles unless you want to be physically assaulted by their Pujari room management and temple property rent-free long-term resident monster named Bhagavat Kripa, Carlos Cruz, that has decades of misconduct, even physical assault by slapping Govinda restaurant female employee across the face during her shift in full view of customers and devotees, which nothing happened to him. Okay, so that's a long sentence, but anyway. So what they're saying is that this guy, this Bhagavat Kripa, and I know who that is. He's on the thumbnail. This Bhagavat Kripa, he is the temple commander. He's like the manager of the temple. There's a temple president, but Bhagavat Kripa is like second in charge. And so it says here that decades of misconduct. by this guy. Decades. Now, he was there when I was there. And he was kind of an enforcer kind of guy. He was a strong arm kind of guy there. Absolutely. I didn't know about hitting anybody, but yeah, he was like a enforcer guy. So it sounds like so this person's calling him a monster. Says he's been doing this for decades. And he's even slapped a female employee in the restaurant in front of customers and Hare Krishna members. And nothing happened to him. That's the kind of place this Hare Krishna temple is. And he's still there. So like they don't care that he does this stuff. According to this person, he's been doing this for decades. And I personally know that he's one of the enforcers at the temple. When there's a problem, they send him in to solve the problem. It says here, they go on and say, he regularly threatens devotees and recently assaulted another female devotee, blindsided, tackling her when she was standing in line for prasadam, and the temple president did nothing again. Same temple president, it's on the thumbnail, same temple president did nothing when my daughter was molested at the temple. He did nothing. He doesn't do anything, evidently. No one, not even GBC, hold ISKCON LA abusers accountable for their abuse towards devotees. So this isn't coming from me. This is coming from one of them. And instead of walking away and going, hey, this, I don't want to be part of this yoga club. Because that's what it is. It's a chanting club. So instead of saying, I don't want to be part of this chanting club, they stick it out and go through decades, like I did, decades of abuse, decades of this insanity. Because they think it's real. They think it's real. I thought it was real. Until I had realized that this, first of all, it's not real. But second of all, it can't be real. If everything they say is true, and it's scientific, and the holy name, and transcendental bliss, and Krishna dancing on your tongue, and Krishna's right there, Lord Chaitanya's, if all of that is true, this guy wouldn't be slapping a woman in the restaurant in front of everybody. They wouldn't be molesting children. They would be truly spiritual people. But they're not. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Now, not everybody's slapping people. Not everybody's molesting kids. But everybody is part of this psychosis. This mass hallucinatory cosplay. There's no demon head eating the moon. Why is that so hard to figure out? Why is that so hard for an adult person? Educated adult person, went through school, graduated high school, went to college maybe, to understand that there's no decapitated head, disembodied head in orbit that's eating the moon during a lunar eclipse. And if there's no demon head eating the moon, then this other stuff isn't real either, because it's all the same bull story mythology. It's all the same. It's the same story. It's the same story of him lifting the rock, go a mountain with his pinky, swallowing all of these things. No demon head eating the moon. And if chanting makes you happy, that's fine, but it's not because of what they say. People chant a lot of things and they're happy. People read a lot of books and they're happy. People do a lot of things and they're happy. It's not the way they say it. Everybody's miserable. Everybody's this and that. No. People have fulfilled, meaningful lives outside of Hare Krishna. What does this guy call everybody? He says, this guy that runs this webpage, he thinks he's the guru. He's the non-guru guru. He says, the good news is nearly 100% of Joe's six-pack folks are on my side, because they can distinguish these things. He's so deluded that he calls average normal people in the world, normal educated people, Joe's six-pack folks, meaning they drink beer. I mean, the average guy just drinks beer, right? That's what he looks like. He calls him Joe's six-pack, meaning your average dumb beer drinker. That's what he's saying. Your average dumb beer drinker is on his side. Well, no. What you're calling the average dumb beer drinker, he doesn't believe that Prabhupada is a pure devotee and that you should worship him, and that he appointed these people or didn't appoint them, and they agree that he was, if his wife was 11 years old and he was 22 years old when he had sex with her, that's wrong. That's what Joe Sixpack believes. They don't agree with you. They don't agree with you about anything other than you're in a friggin' cult. That's what they know. They don't agree with you about anything. They don't believe that there's a demon head eating the moon. They don't believe that there's a Krishna playing a flute and the sound goes into the ears of a four-headed guy who's growing on a flower out of the stomach of a four-armed guy who's laying on a snake that's really his brother, that's floating on an ocean of his own sweat. They don't believe that. They're not on your side. They think you're a friggin' nut. And you're friggin' deluded if you think that they agree with you about anything. What they agree is that you're in a friggin' cult, and this cult kills people, and it abuses children, and it abuses women. That's what they agree with you about. But they don't agree that Prabhupada is some pure devotee, and that he should be worshipped. They don't believe that. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that 11-year-old girls should be married to grown men. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that Prabhupada was some pure devotee who came over on a boat and is liberating the whole world. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that the earth is flat and resting on a turtle's back or resting on four elephants standing on a big turtle. They don't believe that. They don't believe that Lord Chaitanya appeared as Radha and Krishna 500 years ago in Navadweep, India, Bengal, and he's Krishna himself. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe that. Joe Sixpack doesn't believe you. He says the good news is nearly 100% of Joe Sixpack folks are on my side. No, they're not on your side. They think you're a fucking nut. They play along with you, and they tolerate you. And when you ask them about child molesting gurus and should people be, they go, no. Child molesting, no. Nobody should have anything to do with that. And you think they're agreeing with you. That they're on your side. They're not on your side. You insult them by calling them Joe Sixpack, and calling them carmies, and calling them sense enjoyers, and whatever else you want to call them. And you're going to turn around and say, well, they agree with me. They don't agree with you, dude. They don't agree with you. They think you're friggin' nuts. And they think you're friggin' nuts to stay in this cult when this cult killed your friend. You keep crying about how they killed him and you were next. Well, what are you doing in this friggin' cult? All you do is cry about how they were going to come and get you. They were going to come and get you. You know what? And I don't even believe that. It's a bunch of bullshit. Fucking martyr complex. You wish it was you. You wish they had come after you. Because he's the one that gets all the fame in death. He's the martyr. He's the one who died. To spread the word, to get the truth out. You didn't do shit. They went after him. They didn't come after you. They went after him. He wrote the book. He was doing the work. He put himself in harm's way. He's the one they went after. He's the one that took 2 bullets to the brain. You didn't do nothing. You're still here. You're still here talking shit out your ass. Talking about how they were chasing me down the street and they did. He's got this whole story about how I gotta find it and read it. He's got this whole story about. Here it is. I found it. He says, Solochan, the devotee that was killed, he says, Solochan told me he had found a girlfriend and he wanted to retire from his campaign and just be another normal devotee. You see how deluded these people are? He found out all this stuff about these Hare Krishnas and these gurus and the child molestation and the little boys and all of that crap. And all he wanted to do was just retire and be a normal. He couldn't understand. He couldn't see that there's a bunch of bullshit. How do you uncover all of this crap and not understand that it's all a bunch of shit? What cognitive dissonance is... I mean, how? I mean, really, it's like that's like the saying, no shit, Sherlock. How did you figure this all out? But then you didn't figure out this is a fucking bullshit cult. Sherlock? And then he says, and I don't believe any of this, but he says, he said to me, he also said we had to split up because if we are together, they will take both of us out at one time. There needs to be one survivor who can explain what happened to the other. He also said, I will probably never see you again. Yeah, because I know this guy, and I know how he lies. He lies about everything just to make a point or make his point. That I don't even believe these stories anymore. I've heard these stories from him for friggin' 20 years. And there was a time when I was like, wow. Wow, really? Wow. I was like that. And now I read these stories and I'm like, what a bunch of crap. Now I know how these people lie. They lie about this, they lie about that. Prabhupada lied about all kinds of shit. They make shit up. They exaggerate. Like Prabhupada was no Vedic scholar. He didn't even graduate he didn't even graduate college. How are you a Vedic scholar? How are you the world's most foremost Vedic scholar? And he had never even graduated high school. He didn't even graduate college. He didn't get his degree or diploma in anything. As far as I'm concerned, he's a college dropout. How does a college dropout become a scholar? How do you make that jump? How do you make that jump from dropping out or not getting your diploma for whatever reason they give? He didn't. Again, I don't believe that shit. He dropped out. He dropped out. He didn't get his diploma. He didn't graduate. So how is he a scholar? He's got no degree in anything. He's no Vedic scholar. His magazine he published failed. His chemistry company failed. Toothpaste failed. His ointment failed. He didn't do anything. His books failed. I don't believe anything these people say because they'll lie. They'll lie straight up and down. They lied to me. They'll lie on a grand scale as far as like saying Prabhupada's books are the most read Bhagavad Gita and most read, sold, and this and that. And it's not. The Bhagavad Gita sold millions of copies, but not his. They sell those books in an airport. There's no way of knowing how many books they sold. They go back and say, I sold 100 books. You didn't sell 100 books. You panhandled and gave away books when people would give you money. That's not selling a book to somebody who wants to read it. It's a bunch of bullshit. Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, nobody ever fucking read that book. They say it's in college libraries and it's used in college. It ain't used in no fucking college course. They don't fucking use those books. Unless they're a Hare Krishna teacher, which there probably are. I know there are. Hare Krishnas who teach, get a job teaching, and then they have Bhagavad Gita and they're fucking bullshit. That's bullshit. See, I know. There's millions of books sold around. Walking through a parking lot, handing somebody a book and saying, "Give me $5 for the book." That's not same as friggin' New York Times bestseller list, selling 1 million copies out of Barnes and Noble. That's not the same thing. This is a bunch of bullshit. He says, these gurus were not done with me either, and they sent 3 guys to come after me a few days after they got Salochan. Okay, so imagine this. You tell me if you think this is true. They sent 3 guys to come after me a few days after they got Salochan, but the FBI was tapping their phones, and they arrested the 3, although they had to wait until the 3 enforcers were actually chasing me down the street before coming out of their cars. They told me we had to use you as bait. I don't believe one word of that. If they were tapping their phones, they didn't need to wait to have them chase them down the street. They got it on tape. They can go get them. If they knew that these guys were about to kill this guy, and they got it on tape, they're listening to it, and they don't do anything, and he gets killed, they're liable for that. They're not going to wait until they're shooting at him before they go do something. This is a made up story. This is a 100% made up story. Now, I'm not saying that the guy who killed the guy in the van, that he didn't tell the police officer, yeah, I was going to get some other guys too. That could have happened. But this 3 guys? So who are the 3 guys? If they arrested 3 guys, then you should know who they are. What happened to them? Did they got him on tape? The FBI, you're saying that the FBI was tapping their phones, so they got him on tape. And they arrested him because they were chasing you down the street. But what happened to him? Was there a trial? Were there charges? Did they go to jail? Who are these guys? Who are their names? What are their names? Surely you would know since they were chasing you down the street. Who are they? This never happened. It never fucking happened. They told me we had to use you as bait. This is a bunch of bullshit. If you believe this story, you'd believe that there's a demon head eating the moon. Okay? And that's my point. Is that they get you to believe this crap. You'll believe anything. You believe anything. Okay, so back to this. So this is a chat. This is an internet chat between devotees, and they're talking. Okay, so the person said, "Go to ISKCON LA at your own risk. Don't go unless you want to be physically assaulted." He slapped a woman. He's been doing this for decades. He tackled a devotee in line. The temple president did nothing. No one holds ISKCON LA abusers accountable. And I agree, including the guy that molested my daughter. So then the next person says, excuse me, the next person says, "What? If I saw that, I would bitch slap him, then call the police." No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that. They don't do that. And then this woman says, "Oh my effing God." And then this other woman says, "These are crimes for police to be called for. If it happens a few times, temple authorities will remove said offender." No. Guy's been doing it for decades. Nobody's called the police for 20 years? 30 years? Guy's been there as long as I can remember, and he's still there today. So, 30 years? No one's called the police in 30 years of all this slapping and tackling and beating and all this stuff, and no one's called the police? Not one victim, not one witness. No one's done anything? And it seems like everybody knows about it. It's not a secret. They don't call the police. They don't call the police. It doesn't matter if it's a child being molested. Doesn't matter if it's a woman being slapped. Doesn't matter if it's a woman being raped. They're not going to call the police. And the women, you saw in the video, that guru was molesting that little girl right in front of 5 or 6 women. And they're standing there watching. He's got his hands all over, rubbing her body. Little girl. 8 years old. He's got his hands around her waist and he's rubbing her thing. And she's got like she's like, "Get me out of here, Mom, get me out of here." And those women didn't give a fuck. They're all standing there like friggin' Rosemary's Baby. Watching this little girl getting sacrificed to this evil demon. The mom too. Mom's sitting right there like, "No, it's okay, don't worry about it." And all those grown women standing there watching this old man groping this little girl, and she's like, "Get me out of here." It's on tape. It's on video. It's fucking disgusting. So no, they don't call the police. They didn't even get that little girl away from that guy. They just stood there and watched. Like it was no big deal. If it was anywhere else, if that was anywhere else, somebody would have stepped up and got that little girl away from that man and said, "What are you doing? Got your hands all over this little girl. What are you doing?" The mom, the women, everybody would have been, "What the fuck are you doing?" But this guy sits there like he's fucking God, in his orange friggin' thing, and his bald head, and his beads, and his bead bag, groping on a little girl, because he's a friggin' ISKCON guru guy. The fuck? Disgusting as fuck. And those women standing around not doing shit, those witches. Those fucking witches. That little girl's gonna grow up with some trauma, because he's got his eyes on that little girl. She's a marked little girl now. And her mom is a disciple of his. I feel sorry for that little girl. The temples don't remove these people. They don't remove them. They don't call the police. They let them do whatever they want. They let them do whatever they want. And then listen to this. So then now someone else says, if you are a pujari, then you have to be kind, helpful, and should never have any pride. You are a servant of God. People look up to you for guidance and support. No one has the right to slap an employee or a person anywhere in the world. I really feel bad for people who get treated badly by such people. You don't have to be a pujari to be kind and helpful. And this servant of God crap, that's the part. That's where it rubs me. Because they use the servant of God crap to elevate an ordinary person and to excuse a person who shouldn't be excused from anything. Who says he's a servant of God? Why? Because he sits on a little chair and he was rubbing on a little girl? And he shaves his head with a ponytail? What the fuck is that? What makes him a servant of God? Well, who gets to decide that? Who brainwashed you into saying he's a servant of God? I don't see him as that. I see him as a fucking child molester. Masquerading and cosplaying as a freaking 16th century Bengali. Homosexual Bengali. Named Chaitanya. Who was in the mood of Radharani. You know what that means? He was an effeminate homosexual. That's what it means. Chaitanya is a homosexual Bengali, and they're all dressing up pretending to be him, while this guy's sitting there rubbing on a little girl. Hey, how you doing? Nice hair color. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. So, I'm glad you're here. So, Shrimakunda. So, this person says, I would call the police and share widely through the community. They don't do that. That's just bullshit. Because if you were living in the LA community, you can't call the police. As soon as you call the police, they can kick you out. They're going to go, why'd you call the police? You got to leave now. Now you're the bad guy. They're deluded. It's like if you've ever been to a sporting event or somewhere and you see some commotion going on. And you think to yourself, oh, well, if it was me, I wouldn't put up with that. Or if it was me, I would do this, or I would. But it's not you. It's someone else. But you're thinking, well, if that was me, I would do this and I would do that. But you know what? It's like when my daughter was molested. I always thought, well, if somebody molested my daughter, man, I would go knock them out. I would do this. Whatever, But when it happens, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother world. You'd think, oh yeah, some guy puts his hands on my daughter, I'm gonna do this and I'll do that. Maybe I would if I had seen him in hand right there. I probably would. But when it happens, things don't go that way. Things don't happen that way. So yeah, I had to call the police. I had to do this. There was a whole thing. It was going that. It doesn't work out the way you think. Oh, if anyone touched my daughter, yeah, you wish the world was perfect and you would have that chance, and they'd say, okay, you and him go, you go, and you're the dad, and yet that's it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. So these people that go, well, this is what I would do. I'd call the police and then I'd go and I'd do this. I don't want to hear that, especially when you're in a cult. Now, if it was just you were a neighbor. Your neighbor, and you knew that your neighbor was bringing home little boys or something, and then you might, but not when you're in a cult. You can't even figure out that this friggin' Prabhupada is a con man. So don't tell me that you're gonna be the savior of the community and call the police because you figured out who the bad guy is. You can't even figure out that there's Demon Head is not eating the moon during a lunar eclipse. I mean, you're gonna solve the friggin' child abuse case in the community when you can't even figure out that there's no Demon Head eating the moon? So then this other person says, this Mataji put in a complaint years ago about him harassing her, and they did nothing. Of course they did nothing. Now Mataji, blindsided, tackled, injured by him, and the temple president and his brother, fake leader, again do nothing and swept under the rug. Yeah, they don't do anything. You see how they treat women? Slapped right in public, slapped her right in public, tackled a woman, knocking her down. Tackled means she got knocked down. And then this guy who runs the webpage, he interjects and he says, women are not protected there, and because she complained, she became a worse target. Well, he's right. That's what happens. I'm sure a lot of people complain, and then they end up getting kicked out. And then they're gone. They take their room away from them. They go, you can't be... Maharaj is coming. You got to vacate your apartment because we got Maharaj coming. You got to go. And then this other devotee says, fuck Svavas and fuck his brother and fuck Carlos, which I agree. Fuck them. Fuck the whole cult. Fuck them all. Get out. What are you wasting your time in there for? It's a bunch of bullshit. Fuck them all. And then someone says, for pity's sake, what is wrong with this picture? Duh. Be men and stand up for Srila Prabhupada's mission and save the world. To save the world. If gangsters are in charge, take them out with authority of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. This mafioso crap has ruined the devotional keepers of generations. This is what Prabhupada wanted. It's running the way Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada said women are less intelligent. Prabhupada said women are like children. Prabhupada said women can be beat. You can beat a drum, you can beat a dog, you can beat a woman. He said women are less intelligent, they like to be raped. Well, hell, if you can rape a woman, you can certainly tackle her, slap her in the restaurant. This is not a deviation from Prabhupada's teachings. This is right in line with Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada's teachings don't give a shit about women. Don't give a shit about women. Why should these guys? Prabhupada said you can beat a woman. He said if she acts up, you can smack her around. Certainly, if a woman's not listening to you, she's acting up, you can smack her around. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. They want to think, they want to act like these people are not following Prabhupada's teachings. These people are following Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada says you can smack a woman. You can smack a woman. He says you can beat a woman. He says there's 3 things you can beat: a dog, a drum, and a woman. So what's wrong with a little tackle, a little slap across the face? Again, please report this immediately to Anuttama or ISKCON Resolve. What is that's going to do? They don't care about women. They don't care about women. You can report it you can report it all day and all night. Every day of every month of every year. No one's going to give a shit. Excuse me. I'm not surprised if there are new cases of molestation, rape, murder, assassination within the temple. It's strange how women can still bow down and prostrate before their abusers. Fear of aparad. There's always new cases. It's always going on. It's never gonna stop. Why would it stop? Something has to make it stop. To make it stop would be going against Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada teaches this. You can hit a woman. You can beat a woman. Women are stupid. You can smack women around. Little girls can be married at 11 years old. Little girls make good wives. Black people are ugly. Negroes are ugly. They're third class. This is what's in these books. This is what Prabhupada is teaching. This is what Prabhupada believed. This is what he is teaching these people. So then this person says, they are all paid employees all the way to the top. Hare Krishna devotees should reclaim temples run by non-devotees. Years ago, the LA Police Department commented that of all religious institutions in LA, the New Dwarka community was the most dysfunctional of all communities, receiving the most complaints. Fact. These people know better than anyone how insane they are. And they stay. They stay. You just said. The police department knows. When I lived in the LA community on Watsika Avenue, the police were there like a couple times a month. Because somebody would OD in the ashram or in the building, or there'd be a fight, or there'd be some disturbance. They're always coming to that street. Always coming to that street. Just like they're always going to Scientology. But they always going to Scientology because Scientology protesters are there. There are no protesters at the Hare Krishna temple. They were just called there because there was disturbances there. Domestic violence, drug overdoses, probably burglaries and robberies. My daughter was molested. I called the police. My daughter was molested. I called the police. The police were there all the time. But for me, like when shit started hitting the fan, it hit the fan quick, and I was just like, I'm done with this. What the fuck is this? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense anymore. As if it ever made sense. But it doesn't make sense anymore. Most of them don't even believe or follow the four regular. No, they don't. They follow. This is what a devotee told me. This is what a devotee told me. He said the best thing about the four regulative principles is you only have to follow three of them, and you get to pick which three. And I was like, oh, and I was like, so nobody's following. And when you think about it, if you're in a community and you think about it, you go, well, I know these guys. I know these married people are having sex. I know they are. They're not celibate. If they were celibate, they wouldn't need to be married. They're getting married to have sex. That's why these guys are such phonies. These guys, they join and they go, I'm a monk. They put on the orange and they're like, I'm all into being this monk, and I'm a sannyasi, and I wear orange, and I have my stick, and I don't do anything, and I don't have sex. I don't even talk to women. I don't look at women. I don't do any of that because I got the holy name, and I'm strong, and I'm fixed, and I'm all of this stuff. And then 2 years go by, and then they want to get married. They don't want to be a sannyasi anymore. They want to put on white and be a householder. And I'm like, how do you go back? How do you go backwards? How, if it works, and Prabhupada says it's scientific, and it works, and it's real, and it's this, and it's that, and it's, then how does it not work? How is it my fault? If it's scientific, how can it be dependent on me? If 2 plus 2 equals 4, it's not dependent on Mike. For Mike, 2 plus 2 equals 4. No, it's 2 plus 2 equals 4 for everybody. So if chanting the holy name works and it's scientific, meaning it's you can replicate it and it's always the same, then how can it work for someone else? And how can it not work? How can it get me to sannyasi stage, but then I fall backwards? If this is a science and it's pure and it's everything you say it is, there should not be any going back. And I see so many of these guys go backwards. Yashodanand not included. And when I ask him why, and he says, because I want to eat chocolate. Because you want to eat chocolate. Now you're either lying. You're lying. I mean, there's no other way. Wheel of Fortune regular principles. Yeah, you get to pick the three. It's like 3-card Monty. Switch, move the cards, pick the thing. Where's the walnut? Which cup's got the walnut under it? Which ones am I gonna? Which regular principles am I gonna follow today? When I met these devotees, they seemed so fixed up. They knew everything about Krishna, and they were chanting and doing all. And then they go and they smoke cigarettes. I wasn't a cigarette smoker, so I was like, I'm like, how do you go to the temple and you do all this and then you smoke cigarettes and all this? Oh, well, you don't understand. Well, what? Then I can smoke a joint. If you can smoke a cigarette, I can smoke a joint. And if you can smoke a cigarette, then you can go have sex. And if you can go have sex, you can go drink a beer. And if you can go drink a beer, you can go buy a lottery ticket. And if you can go buy a lottery ticket, you can go get a hooker down on Sunset Boulevard. And if you can where does it end? And that's what's going on. Now you go to your seminars, monks are wearing pink, orange, yellow, who knows? Well, the kids are supposed to wear yellow, I guess. Who cares? I've seen adults wearing yellow, and I don't know what's up with that. But who cares? It's cosplay. It's just a bunch of cosplay. It's got no meaning, no relevance, no anything. Folks should leave cults if they wish to follow the Hindu religion. There's plenty of Vaishnava temples or whatever temples to visit, meditate, and worship without going crazy in a cult. It does. It causes you to go crazy. It's mental illness. And there are so many devotees who are just struggling every day with following these four regular principles, and it drives them crazy. They want to go smoke a cigarette. They want to go smoke a joint. They want to go have sex. They want to go and they can't. And they're mentally like, especially the homosexuals. They just want to live a normal life and worship Krishna. But no, you can't do that. Why not? I don't know. Prabhupada says you can't. Well, if heterosexuals can worship Krishna and have sex, how come homosexuals can't worship Krishna and have sex? Why can't homosexuals just chant before they have sex, like heterosexuals do? What about, well, they're not having sex. They're not having sex to have a baby. Well, you have to have sex 3 or 4 or 5 times to have a baby, because you don't know if baby got conceived the first time. So if a heterosexual couple has sex 5 times trying to have a baby, then that's 4 times too many. It's like a homosexual having sex without getting pregnant. What's the difference? Makes no sense. I think it has something to do with Chaitanya being a homosexual, so it's like, well, we can't handle that. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but so many homosexuals in the Hare Krishnas have mental problems because they just want to be gay, and they can't, and so they. And it's like that with anything, you know. Probably being homosexual is probably the worst, because that's something that's just who they are. It's not like smoking a cigarette or eating a hamburger. I mean, you could say it's the same. I mean, I don't know. It's not the same. But the thing is that there's no reason why they should have these restrictions. If you want to just worship Krishna and go offer a flower or chant, why do you have to do all these cult things? If you see the Hindus that come to the temple, they're like, screw that. I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that. What am I going to do all that for? So then this next person says, I believe ISKCON LA is giving bad reputation for the entire worldwide ISKCON for years and years. And then another devotee says, in ISKCON, male abusers have a huge power only because they are men. And then another person says, yes, good old boys club protecting themselves and the abusers. The temple president must think he's untouchable. He is untouchable. He's basically a GBC. What can happen? Well, if Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna or Vishnu is a transvestite or homosexual, why can't humans be the same? And they say we are created in the image of Bhagavan. Yeah, I think they have a problem with that. They have a problem with Chaitanya. That's why they made up this thing about being in the mood of Radharani. And that's why it's a cult. It's this cult of Chaitanya, is what it is. It's a cult of this guy that appeared 500 years ago who said he was Krishna, who was a homosexual, who run around dancing and singing and dancing and all that. and was nuts and dressed up like a gopi. So they said, oh, he's in. So then they, this cult around him formed, around this Chaitanya. This cult around Chaitanya formed. All these people thinking he was an incarnate. You got to remember, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, they believed that these people walking around in the forest or whatever were incarnations of gods. That's an incarnation of Shiva. He's an incarnation of Varaha. He's an incarnation of Lakshmi, whatever. They believe that stuff. So Chaitanya appeared, and they're like, well, it's Krishna. And they made up stories that he was Krishna. And they made up stories that he, was in the mood of Radharani, because hey, people knew who he was. They knew he was a little So they made up stories that he's in the mood of Radharani. He's Radha and Krishna combined. That's why he's a little That's all. You ain't got me fooled. You ain't got me fooled. I was fooled for a while, but I came to my senses. In Singapore, the temple presidents are untouchable. They're all untouchable because they're put in by the power, the GBC. They're put in place to enforce their rules, to make sure you're playing the game. Next line, I'm the incarnation of Sri Parabrahma itself. I guess people are just, and in India though, in India, the tradition is your guru is an incarnation of Vishnu, but not so much, not literally like Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada's a pure devotee, and he's in direct contact with Krishna and Lord, servant of Lord Chaitanya, whatever. It's like you respect your teacher. You go, my teacher is the best teacher ever. My teacher was the best teacher I ever had. My teacher, like my high school teacher. I had a high school teacher that taught. Let's say I had a high school teacher that taught civics, and I go, man, my teacher is the best civics teacher ever. He made the class so interesting, and it was so much fun, and he brought in these things, and he did this thing on the wall, and then we went down to the government building downtown, and we got to see the city thing, the city council pass a law, whatever, and then he took us, and we did this, and I go, man, he was just the best civics teacher. My civics teacher was civics, or he was the best. And I don't think that anyone ever could be better than my civics teacher in high school. Mr. Jones, Brad Jones, whatever. But somebody else in another school, some guy at Fairfax High goes, my civics teacher was the best. My civics teacher, he took us, we went on a field trip. We went all the way to Sacramento. Whatever. But everyone's going to say, well, my teacher was the best. No, my teacher was the best. No, my. So it's kind of like that. It's like my guru. My guru is Vishnu. No, my guru is Vishnu. My guru is incarnation of Vishnu. Well, my guru is incarnation of Narada. My guru is Vyasa. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the Hare Krishnas want you to believe that Chaitanya was really an incarnation of Krishna. That Chaitanya was Krishna. That's not the same. So then this cult that Chaitanya was God. No different than saying Jim Jones was God, or Reverend Sun Yun Moon, or L. Ron Hubbard was God, or Joseph Smith, the Mormon guy, he was God. the guy from Waco, David Koresh, or Charlie Manson, or anybody else. It's no different. They said Chaitanya's God. Chaitanya's God. That's all. And it's a cult. It's a Chaitanya cult. It's been going on for 500 years. In 1965, it came here. It came to the U.S. Finally made it to the U.S. It was just hanging out in India for 500 years. Very small. Very, very nothing. Still very small. Very nothing. Imagine having a direct hotline to the heavens. You know, and I believe that Prabhupada actually thought that he did. Because Prabhupada was such a megalomaniac that he actually thought that he was this great spiritual teacher. So when he comes to the U.S. and these hippies start selling his books and they start bringing money in, went to his head. I really am. I really am empowered by Krishna. Krishna really is. I really am pure devotee. It's like, you know, it's like a magician doing a magic trick, and it works, and he was like, he doesn't even know what happened. He's like, I made it disappear. Wow, I did that. That's what Prabhupada was doing. Prabhupada was like, you know, sitting up. Within a couple of years, all of a sudden, Prabhupada's got all this money in the bank. He's got an organization. He's got like 50 hippies running around working for him. He's probably going, wow, I must be the shit. I must really be something. In his head. In his head. He's like, well, I'm the shit. Look at me, I'm the shit. Selling my books. I got a building in L.A. and he had a little shithole building in L.A. A house on La Cienega Boulevard. La Cienega and 18th Street. La Cienega and friggin' David Avenue or something. Like a little nothing of a place. Oh, but he's got a temple in Los Angeles. And he's got a temple in New York. A little piece of shit building and storefront in New York that anybody can have. And a little piece of shit storefront in San Francisco on Franklin Street or whatever the fuck that was. A little nothing, like a bookstore sized place. And he's all proud. I got 3 temples. I got 3 temples. Of course, he could use that to get a loan, so he could open up another temple in Dallas or wherever, and then get another loan, rent another house, and somebody give him a house in, I don't know, San Diego or wherever. He open them. Now he thinks he's friggin' the Pope. It's all going to his head. Thinks he's the Pope. Now he's got 100 hippies running around. He's got half a dozen houses, shithole houses that he calls temples. It's not like he built these temples. It's not like he constructed these temples. These are pieces of shit properties that he got for practically nothing. Or people donated to him because they wanted to write it off on their taxes. He didn't build any friggin' temples. He built the temple in Vrindavan, that's all he really wanted to do, was build a friggin' temple in Vrindavan. You build a temple in India, and then you're somebody. You're not just a nobody, you're somebody. He wanted to build a temple in Vrindavan. That's what he wanted to do. built this temple in Vrindavan. He didn't build any temples anyway. These pieces of shit places that he had. And speaking of that, let me just show you what a friggin' piece of shit. This is the LA temple. This is the LA temple. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Look how many people are in the LA temple. In LA, there's got to be like 7 million people in LA. And they claim to have so many members, right? They claim to have millions of members around the world. If you have millions of members around the world and you're in a city like Los Angeles that's got like 7 million people, and you've got millions of followers, and you've got to have a few thousand members in Los Angeles or something. You got to have somebody in Los Angeles. Look at this place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in there, and then probably some women upstairs. Let's say you got 9 women up there. Okay, you got like 18 people. So where is everybody? Where is everybody? Bunch of bullshit. You got no millions of followers. In a big city like Los Angeles, 7 million people, one of the biggest communities. That community's got a bunch of people. Where are they? Where are all the people from the community that live there? How come they're not there? They don't want to go there. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Even the people that are in it can't be bothered. Can't be bothered with this shit. That's all they got. That's all they got. And there's some people upstairs, and maybe there's some, outside. Well, they're just not in the temple. What kind of community is that? Everyone's supposed to be in there. And in the morning, 4:30, when the whole community's supposed to be in there, and you got 10 people in there, 12 people. If you look at this stream, they have 15,000 subscribers. They only had 23 people watching this thing. 23. This is ISKCON LA. This is a small community, a small group of people with high levels of crime, high levels of child abuse, high levels of domestic abuse, high levels of suicide, high levels of drug overdose, high levels of these things in such a small community. How can that be? How can that be? Why are there so few people there? And when you've got so few people, why are the statistics so high with child abuse and domestic abuse? And why? The tiny group that actually follow this religion can't even follow it and be good people and not abuse their children and not abuse each other? It sounds like a failure to me. It sounds like a failure, 100% failure. That's the problem in Gaudiya Vaishnava. The gurus are made up. The gurus are all made up. And then they want to complain. They want to complain that the new gurus are not authorized when most of the people in their parampara aren't even real. They're fake people. Jaya Nidhi and Daya Tirtha and this Nidhi and that Baba. Those people aren't real. There's no spaceman floating in outer space named Narada Muni floating around. I mean, come on. And then you talk to Vyasadeva, who lives for thousands of years. I mean, these are stories. And I'm not trying to knock anybody's culture. It's your culture. It's your culture. You can respect it, and you can understand the symbolism. You can understand the meaning, the allegory or the analogies or the what's being represented. All of that. That's all fine. It doesn't have to be. It's not meant to be taken literally. You have to take it literally. There's no demon head eating the moon. Sorry to say. It's a nice story. It's a wonderful story. If you want to read about demons getting their heads cut off and the head orbiting Earth and attacking the moon, you can read that story. It's a fun story to read. If you like that kind of stuff. But it has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with history. It has nothing to do with real life. It has nothing to do with me. Putting food on my table, paying my bills, keeping the roof over my head. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a friggin' story. It's just a friggin' story. Just like Chaitanya's a story. And I know the Hare Krishnas freak out over that. All you Hare Krishnas freak out. It's not just a story, Prabhu. It's just revealed scripture. It's not revealed shit. Prabhupada's not a Vedic scholar. He doesn't know any more than your average Hindu temple guy. Your average Hindu temple guy tell you the same stories that Prabhupada knows. Prabhupada just looked them up in a book and just wrote them in his book. He plagiarized half the Bhagavad Gita is written by someone else. Prabhupada just copied it down. Go to any friggin' temple and ask any pujari at any non-ISKCON temple. The one in Calabasas. You know the temple in Calabasas. Talk to the pujari in there. Ask him about Shiva. Ask him about Parvati. Ask him about Lakshmi. He'll tell you stories. He knows them. He reads the books. You don't think he knows? He knows. He knows. He knows just as much, if not more, than Prabhupada. Prabhupada's nothing special. Absolutely nothing special. He was a cranky, bitchy, creepy, perverted old man who didn't understand anything about modern life. He couldn't understand love between a man and a woman. He couldn't understand raising a family. He couldn't understand how a man and a woman could fall in love and care for each other. He couldn't understand how a woman deserves respect and should be in charge of her own destiny and her own body. He couldn't understand that. He couldn't understand equality between people, that black people were not ugly and were not slaves and did not belong in the jungle and deserved civil rights and equal rights. He couldn't understand that. Prabhupada could not understand why black people were given freedom. He couldn't understand why the slaves were freed. He couldn't understand why civil rights. He didn't understand why they were allowed to vote. He didn't understand any of that. He didn't understand the moon. He didn't understand how the moon orbits the Earth. He didn't understand how rockets work, that a rocket could go to the moon. He didn't understand cosmology. He didn't understand astrology, astronomy. He didn't understand science. He didn't understand physics. Probably didn't understand a lot of things. He didn't understand homosexuality. He didn't understand consciousness or brain size. He didn't understand women or women's equality. He didn't understand a lot. He was like pretty fucking stupid about a lot of things. He didn't understand the Holocaust. He was a Holocaust denier. He believed that Jews were the problem in World War II. He believed that Hitler was a good guy, gentleman, and Hitler would never do anything wrong. This is who Prabhupada was. This is the guy that's writing these books about demon heads eating the moon and all these stories in these books and writing these stupid ass purports. This guy that couldn't understand how NASA figured out how to go to the moon. He could not comprehend that. Prabhupada was like these people in the Middle Ages when Galileo looked through the telescope and he said, you know, the Earth is going around the sun. And all the people in the church in the Middle Ages were like, ah! That's Prabhupada. We're going to land a rocket on the moon. He couldn't deal with it. He couldn't understand it. He couldn't comprehend it. He was like living in the Middle Ages. He's saying that grown men should marry little girls. Because thousands of years ago, these cavemen figured that was fine. Jesus didn't marry no little girl. There's no record of that in the Bible, of Jesus marrying a little girl. But Prabhupada couldn't say no. Prabhupada just couldn't say no. He couldn't say no. They're like, hey, we got a little girl for you. Oh, you do? Okay, great. I'll be a pure devotee later. Right now, I got an 11-year-old to take care of. That's Prabhupada. That's who this guy is. That's who this guy is. Guy couldn't control himself. 11-year-old girl. He couldn't say, no, I'm going to be a spiritual leader later in life, and, you know, that's not going to look so good. No, he didn't care. In fact, he put it in his books. 11-year-old girls make the best wives. All girls should be married, must be married to 24-year-old men. He just goes ahead and puts it in the Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto, chapter 17. That's who this guy is. That's who these people worship. It's disgusting. Friggin' disgusting. And I was doing it too. I thought he was the greatest thing in the world too. I got to admit it. I got to admit it. I did. But then, luckily, I came to my senses. I came to my senses, and I just said, "There's just no way. There's just no way." There's no way. So, let me see. Let me go back to this. So this, get back to this letter. So this, so another devotee says, male abusers in ISKCON are common, yet no action is taken. Whether in Mayapur or LA, the situation remains the same. Why the silence? So they, in the cult, they realize that there's this problem that's been going on for decades. And they recognize that it's male abusers in ISKCON. They recognize that it's worldwide, whether it's in Mayapur or LA. They also recognize that no one speaks up. They recognize all of this. They see it. They see it for themselves. They see what's wrong. They know why it's wrong. They don't do anything about it. And they don't leave. They stay in it. as if there's no world outside their demented, disgusting cult. They can't conceive. As bad as their cult is, okay, so their cult is full of child molesters, murderers, everything bad, right? Abusers, misogynists, women haters, beating women, all these bad things in the cult. And they think that it's better to be in the cult than to be outside the cult, because they think that outside the cult is where all those things happen. That's how deluded they are. They think, well, out there is where people are being murdered, and there's drug addicts, and there's sex fiends, and there's all of these bad people out there. Those bad people are you. Those bad people are you in the cult. Because you see how bad it is. You recognize all the badness. But you don't do anything about it. And you stay in it. Which means you're contributing to it. That's why I had to leave. I couldn't contribute to it anymore. In any way. You're contributing to this. They're writing letters saying it's horrible in there, and why is everybody being silent? But you're being silent too. You're doing the same thing that you're complaining about, that no one's doing anything. Well, you're not doing anything. The best thing that you could do is leave. Remove yourself. The best thing I ever did was leave. All that anxiety gone. I don't have to follow 4 regulative principles. Why follow 4 regulative principles? If I want to eat meat, I'll eat meat. If I don't, I won't. If I want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. If I don't want to have a drink, I won't have a drink. If I want to smoke, I'll smoke. If I don't, I don't. I won't. It's up to me. No more stress. I don't have to worry about, did I chant? Did I get up early enough? Did I cause an offense? Did I read enough? Did I do this enough? Is my T-lock on straight? Is my... so many things. It's mental illness. And it's like that with all of the cults. Whether it's Scientology, it doesn't matter. Your whole day is like, am I good enough? Am I doing it right? Why isn't it working? Why did I get angry? Why I'm not supposed to get angry? I'm supposed to be in bliss. I'm supposed to be in this clear state of mind, this always happy, this always whatever. How come I'm not? Because it doesn't work. It's all fake. It's all bogus. It's all phony. And when it doesn't work, it's your fault. You're the reason why it's not working. You're not chanting enough. You're not pure enough. You're not hearing enough. You're not chanting right. You're not chanting enough. You're not chanting long enough. You're chanting whatever. You're mumbling. Whatever it is, it's your fault. You're committing offenses. You're not concentrating. Something you're doing. Even though it's scientific and it's perfect and it's God's plan and all of this, it's still your fault it's not working. All these gurus. If it worked, why would these gurus fall down? Why would you change up? Why would you want to get married? If being celibate and chanting Hare Krishna is so friggin' great, how could you ever not want to do it for a woman? Or a piece of chocolate? It makes no sense at all. Why would Prabhupada be doing snuff every night? Why would Prabhupada be doing snuff every night? If he's high on chanting and writing and doing all these things, why the hell is he doing snuff? The overload, it's an overload. I mean, if you were to write down make a list of all of these things, pros and cons, you made a list, you would never finish writing the con list. It would go on forever. You'd have to list each guru and everything they did. Your list would never end. And yet these people stay in there. This thing goes on, and then it goes on. It says it's not this bad people that's the problem. It's the community not standing together and obeying Prabhupada. GBC are not following. Go back to this thing. They are following. They're doing exactly what Prabhupada teaches. They want to blame Prabhupada's. They want to blame them for following Prabhupada's teachings by saying they're not following Prabhupada's teachings, but they are following them. They're treating women just the way Prabhupada says to treat them. They're treating children just the way Prabhupada treated them. It's all in his books. So then this person says, this person came to Alachua and took another devotee's wife. See, they know all the dirt. They know all the dirt about these people. So now somebody's spilling the beans saying, this Bhagavat Kripa guy came and took someone's wife in Florida. I don't know if that's true. And then this other woman says, these posts are not appropriate for the public. Why? You don't want the public to know the truth? You're sitting here complaining about all these problems, but you want to keep it hidden from the public? That's why I'm saying, you can't trust these people. They'll lie to you. If you were to talk to this person and say, hey, I heard about a woman getting beat up at the LA temple, this person would say no, it didn't happen. Because they don't want this to go out to the public. You see? You see? These posts are not appropriate for the public. Why? Because you don't want the public to know the truth. You don't want the public to know the truth. Well, I do want the public to know the truth. I want people to know. I want people to make an educated guess. I want people to know what's going on in the LA temple so they don't go down there and join. You obviously don't care. You're like, look at all this bullshit that's going on at the LA temple, but don't tell the public, because if somebody wants to join the LA temple, we don't want them to go away. You want them to jump right into this cesspool of crap. You want them to jump right into this cesspool of crap, even though you know it's a cesspool of crap. You're like, well, I'm in this cesspool of crap. We might as well let everybody else join this cesspool of crap. Why don't you want this to be public? I want it to be public. I want everyone to know. Because I want to warn them. They have a right to know. Just like I had a right to know. But no one told me. No one told me there was a half a dozen child molesters just roaming the community at will. And we're not going to tell you who they are. They might work in the school, or they might work in be a gardener. Maybe one of them paints the fence over there. Maybe the plumber. We don't know, but we're not going to tell you. But there's like 2 or 3 in view right now, and we're not going to tell you who they are. I can see 3 child molesters in the community right now, but I'm not going to tell you who they are, because that's not appropriate for the public. So then I wander in there all la-di-da-di-da, and then my daughter gets molested. Because no one wanted to tell me that the community had 3 or 4 molesters wandering around in there. You see how these people are? So this letter starts off by saying, go to ISKCON LA at your own risk. Don't go to ISKCON LA unless you want to be physically assaulted. So it starts off by saying, hey, warning. If you go to LA temple, you could get physically assaulted by so-and-so and so-and-so who slapped a person and did this. And then down here, this person says, hey, these posts are not appropriate for the public. Well, you just warning people not to go there because of the violence there. So who are you warning? You want to warn people, or you don't want to warn people? Or you want to warn each other, but you don't want to warn the public? Is that what it is? You want to warn each other, but you don't want to warn the public. And now that's really fucking disgusting. They want to protect each other from each other, but they don't want to protect the public from themselves, from them. You see how fucking disgusting that is? You see what a fucking disgusting cult this is? Violent cult? It's a violent cult, and the people in it know it's a violent cult, but they don't want the public to know because they're so in love with this cult that they're just going to keep it all to themselves and let any unsuspecting person that happens to wander in, well, too bad. Too bad. No. I'm here to warn. I'm here to warn the public. Hare Krishnas don't want you to know. They want to keep it hidden. They don't want you to know that there's child molesters in the temple. They don't want you to know women are being slapped and pushed around and knocked down. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know children are being molested in the schools. They don't want you to know that they promote child marriage, that young girls are being married to grown men. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that shit. They know it. They know it themselves. They don't want you to know it out there. You think all these Russian devotees, these new Russian devotees and Eastern European devotees that are just now coming in contact with Hare Krishna in the last 20 years now, they're preaching over there and making devotees, you think they know about all this shit? They don't know, because the shit's not translated into their language yet. They only hear what they're telling them. But they don't know. You think they know that this guy got his head cut off? You think they know about all this molestation and women beating in LA and wherever else it is? You think they know? They don't know. She just says right here, these posts are not appropriate for the public. What else are you keeping from the public? What else are you hiding? Alright, that's it for today. I'm pissed off. As usual. I always get pissed off. That's what I do. I get pissed off. What can I say? You are alone. I'm all alone here. Prabhu fraud. Yep. Big ass fraud. Big fraud. So, yeah, that's it for today. I'm gonna call it. Let me see if I got it. Do I have any sounds I can play? Unga! I like that one. So, so that's it for today. Where's my bell? We are going to call this class over. Ding. And, hey, good night. Thanks for joining. Spread the word. Like, share, subscribe. Get the word out there so people can watch and learn the truth about this cult and know that it's dangerous and it's violent and dangerous and it's destructive and you don't want anything to do with it. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, and have some great luck. And please stay out of a cult. And what do we got? There we go.